This week's op-eds, as well as figures I put out last week, are real ways of where to wake some up to the reality we are being shafted on a daily basis. Ignore the ET stuff and even the criminality stuff. You know, this stuff affects every single human in this country, every minute of the day. And this really has to be the focus of attention. Now, some will say, oh, we can't change much. Wrong thinking. We changed Monsanto. We changed the vaccine fraud. We changed the banking system. We changed the veteran issue. We changed the child trafficking and the sex cults and several other things. How? By people working together and exposing things. Why do you think Facebook, Go Ogle, Twitter are banning stuff left, right and centre? Because we forced them to is why. So I don't want to hear anyone saying we can't do much. We can do everything to push them back and continue them defending our onslaught, because that's what it is. Changing to crypto, banning blogs, blocking stuff, are all defensive moves by the cabal and the system, and is a complete change from the onslaught of offensive moves they've been doing to us for thousands of years. Never underestimate your own power, because rest assured they don't. They're shit scared of it. Of that I can guarantee. So the first set of figures is based on the budget. Again, this one. Wrap your head around this lot. Or weep. The federal government estimated it would receive 3.645 trillion in revenue. Most of it is the taxes. And most of the taxes are paid by you, the people, either through income or payroll taxes. Income tax contributes 1.824 trillion, or 50% of total receipts. Social Security, Medicare and other payroll taxes add 1.295 trillion, or 36%. Corporate taxes, their contribution is 255 billion, or 7%. Excise taxes and tariffs contribute 157 billion, or 4%, and earnings from the Federal Reserve holdings adds 49 billion, or 2%. Those are interest payments on the US Treasury debt the Fed acquired through quantitative easing. They owe us a lot more than that. Estate taxes and other miscellaneous revenue supply the remaining 2%. So in your wages, along with the Social Security, Medicare, contribute 86% of the revenue, and yet none of it goes to the country. Oops. Corporate taxes, 7%, 255 billion. Social Security costs are currently covered 100, according to the article, covered 100% by payroll taxes and interest on investments. Until 2010, there was more coming into the Social Security Trust Fund than being paid out, thanks to its investments. The Trust Fund is still running a surplus, but the Trust Fund Board estimates that this surplus will be depleted by 2032. Social Security revenue from payroll taxes and interest earned will only cover 77% of the benefits that have been promised to retirees. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Social Security Fund is paid for by the trust, as in Manor Wealth Holding Trust. It's all paid for. And the income streams that they take out of your pay is another slush fund for the system. Not only do they take it out via your pay whilst you're working, but when you start receiving it, they also tax it in some states as well. The IRS is another slush fund. None of it goes to America or its government. None. Don't believe me? Find out yourself. What is known as the discretionary budget is 1.426 trillion. More than half goes towards military spending. There is an emergency fund of $200.1 billion. Most of it goes to overseas contingency operations to pay for wars, not for the people. A growing portion is set aside for disaster relief for hurricanes and wildfires, and military spending is included in that budget. The biggest expense was the Department of Defence at $576 billion. It doesn't end there, trust me. Overseas contingency operations were estimated to cost approximately $174 billion. That pays for the war on terror costs triggered by the so-called 9/11 attacks. $174 billion a year for something that happened 18 years ago. You're telling me the world's greatest military with all the greatest this and greatest that couldn't have solved that after 18 years? These include ongoing costs from the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Military spending included $212.9 billion for defence-related departments. In other words, rogue contractors. Also includes Homeland Security, the State Department and Veterans Affairs. These departments also receive emergency funding of $26.1 billion. Add it all up, and the total US spending on defence last year is $989 billion. $989 billion per year on a war machine that does and has absolutely no benefit for America or Americans. Now, to put this spending into perspective in comparison to the GDP of whole countries, GDP means all the money spent by every single person in that particular country over a calendar year. Only 16 countries have their whole GDP, not just military spending, higher than our military spending. Let that sink in. American military only spending is the 17th highest expenditure globally. Let that sink in.